So welcome my ice loving friends. I promised y'all a while back that we were gonna have one more homemade ice maker video, and this was gonna be a good one. So what I told y'all we were gonna do is put it in its new room. Well, this room is slowly getting revamped. This is my processing room out here in my shop. It's gonna slowly turn into a hobby room slash processing room. It stays air conditioned, as you can see right here, and I think it'll be an excellent place for our DIY ice maker. By the way, if you stumbled across this video, the DIY ice maker right here is, well, where I turned a chest freezer into a homemade ice maker. It originally started out as a budget build, and then we got to playing with it a lot, turned it into, well, kind of a monstrosity. Long story short, this makes large ice cubes that work very well for filling coolers, for filling our boats, going fishing, things such as that. And it's been one heck of a journey to get here with over a couple million views in that series. So I've got this all cleaned up. We're gonna install it today. That's what this video is about. And we have recently transitioned to solar power out here at the shop. And I got to thinking, y'all mentioned this, check this out. Tons of comments on, man, figure out how to run this thing off of solar, because a while back we were seeing how cheap we can make ice. I think we got down to a little over 40 cents for a 20-pound bag of ice that we're making out of this. Now, other than the cost of solar, which we've already invested in for other things, might as well use that excess power, right? We're technically gonna get free ice now. My pumping well runs so little to feed this, I think we can get it down to about a penny a 20-pound bag. All right, so let's get started. We got to redo some plumbing, tap into this. I'm going to fill this differently now, collect my ice differently, and we're going to power it differently. And this is its new home. So a quick look for those of you that are not familiar, I suggest going back and watching this series. We've played around with a couple of deep freezers. We built a collar right here so we could do all our wiring through that and not have to modify our freezer itself. We've got some foam in here that doesn't look the world's best now, but that gives us nice and good insulation. We took a couple of refrigerator ice makers, and now we can collect up to 200 pounds of ice, store it, it's all automatic, ready to go. Okay, so there's no point in trying to get the camera somehow underneath this tight space and show you what I got going on, but all I'm doing is tapping into the line that's already in here. I'm gonna put a T in so I can hook my sink faucet back up on one side, and then put a little adapter on like this. On the other side of this T, put me in a little cutoff valve right here. This will allow me to turn the water off and on to the ice maker should I have a leak or need to service something and not kill the water in this room. And I should also mention this ice is not used for drinking ice for us. This is for icing down coolers, boat fish boxes, things such as that. That's what I've always used it for. And we use a ton of ice in the summer for those things. All right, so let me get all this tapped in real quick. We're just gonna run a 1/4 inch line over to this, and then we're gonna move on to some wiring. I'm gonna show y'all the solar side of things. I'm a little more excited about that this time than, well, basic plumbing. Okay, so now the fun part. I have to do a little bit different type of wiring because I'm starting to get so much of a load over in that other room. I need to up my breaker size, and technically what I need to do is pull another wire over there because I want some independent circuits so we can play around with the solar itself. But what I've got going on right here, this is an EcoFlow Delta Pro. This unit is capable of 3,600 watts. So the room itself isn't a problem. It's the wiring and how I get it over there. Now, what may become a problem, I have so much going on over there. A deep freezer, full-size refrigerator, now another freezer, and I do a lot of work in that room as well. There's also a window unit over there. What I'm concerned about a little is, will this unit have enough battery capacity to run all night long? Probably not, especially in the summertime when the AC is kicking off and on and all those compressors are in there cycling. But this unit has more than enough power output, and I've already known to run full rooms, the shop itself. I was probably gonna have to add an extra battery to this down the road. Very capable unit as is, and what I love about it is we can actually expand and add on. I've also wired in a transfer switch over here so I can flip from grid power to generator power. The other really cool thing about this generator right here is it has a UPS function in it. So I can plug it in the wall run through to this transfer switch, flip that to generator, power the room after I get done wiring all this up exactly how I want. And long story short, I can run that room either off of grid power, through the unit, or off of solar itself, unplug the unit from the wall. And the reason that UPS function's so cool, I can run on grid power if I want through the unit. If we lose power, say we're going on vacation or going for extended period of time, this unit will automatically swap over up to about 1800 watts, which is your typical wall outlet power anyways. And now that room with all my food, the freezer, refrigerator, the ice, everything I don't want to melt and make a mess and lose all that money is running off of this unit right here. So I have true backup power for our food and for that ice maker. That's pretty cool. Now I'm not going to show all the details of the wiring here and all about the power station because I've already made videos covering that. We just want to get a few things moved around today so we can start running some ice maker tests on solar, and really technically we're about to run the entire room. I need to pull another wire over there if I want to run just the ice maker itself, but we don't know till we try, right? Let's go ahead and run that entire room on solar, run it overnight, run it throughout the rest of the week if it's capable and can handle it, and let's see if we can actually power all that stuff over there off of solar. And for those of y'all that are new to the channel, I just installed this 1200 watt solar array right here with plans to add another one down the road as we continue to upsize our solar system. So this is what's going to be feeding all that right there. 1200 watts is more than enough input to provide more than what that room is pulling at any given time, really, unless I'm in there working, running grinders or heavy equipment. So during the day, we should be able to power that room no problem, plus put that surplus back into the battery. It's just the full overnight with no sun out. I don't know if we have quite enough battery capacity to run all those appliances in that room. There's a heck of a lot going on in there. But let's find out. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is kill power and use these two breakers in the middle. They're actually set up for 240 volts. They're 20 amp breakers up top. I'm going to take this little bar apart, and that way I can just use one of these and send 20 amps over to that room. That's enough to run the room as is, but if I start plugging in again my grinder and vacuum sealer and all, we potentially could reach a point where we could trip a breaker. That's why I'm gonna go ahead and run an entire extra wire over there, and we can utilize this second 20 amp breaker and have 40 amps of service over there. That will always cover us. Now, if I had two generators running 240 volts, well, this wouldn't be a problem. We'd just go ahead and power up 240 volts to a little sub panel over there and tap into it that way. But while we have 120 volts right now, let's go ahead and cover all this. All right, so I'm gonna kill the power, move that room over to a 20 amp breaker, and we're good to go. Again, if you wanna see how to wire in one of these transfer switches, I'll put a video at the end of this one where I did a full explanation of it. And it works with gas generators, battery powered generators, doesn't matter. All right, so some interesting data. I am now running that entire room off of my EcoFlow Delta Pro, and look at the output wattage there, 123 watts. So the only thing that is running in that room right now, I just checked, is the ice maker. Now, I just seen about 330 watts here. That lets me know the compressor either on the freezer or refrigerator was running, most likely the refrigerator. And we're gonna continue to see those cycles all night. Now, what we're not gonna see is my ice maker stopping wattage because it is hot. It is just now kicked on, it's trying to make ice. Once we eventually get a decent amount of ice and there's some thermal mass, it'll also cut itself off because it'll reach temperature. And as of right now, you would most likely be seeing close to 0 watts going to that room. But keep in mind, at times, we're probably gonna see 300-400 watts going to that room, maybe upwards of 600 or 700 watts, especially when the AC is engaged. It just so happens everything is kind of in idle mode right now, but they will cycle off and on through the night. So you can see I've got my power cable in here, and that room is on C, which is flipped up to generator mode. I also have this plugged in to the wall right now. That's why you see the input wattage so high. So technically, once this unit charges, it'll be feeding off of the wall through the unit, through this cable, back over to that room. And if we were to lose power, or if I were to unplug that, it'll go right over to battery power. So what I'm thinking about doing is unplugging this unit once it reaches full charge here in just a minute, and let it run all night. This unit has 3.6 kilowatt hours of capacity, so a tremendous amount of capacity on the inside as far as the battery goes. But whenever I see that 300 something 400 watt range, I know that will not get me through the night because, well, it's winter time. We'll have 12 hours of nighttime. So no solar charging input, no nothing. However, you see we're only running 100 and something watts right now. Just the ice maker is trying to get down to temp. We could run for a couple of days just on the ice maker itself. But at a certain point, the ice maker reaches temp, it'll go to 0 watts. So it is so hard to know exactly what that room is going to pull because there's going to be fluctuations all throughout the night. Only thing I know to do is to let it run on battery power and we'll see. All right, so I want to show you all the UPS function of this device, and it's what makes things like this awesome. So the wall is technically pulling in 124 watts from the plug, passing straight through the unit. That's why it's exactly matching the output. So if I were to unplug this right now, this has like a very quick, just a few millisecond trigger, and it'll instantly swap over to the inverter and battery on the inside, still supplying power to the room. So let's unplug it and try it. And if this does not switch quick enough, you're going to see this go to 0 because that means it kicked the compressor out on my ice maker. Check that out. It swapped over quick enough. So now we're running on battery power and the internal inverter. We're no longer getting input from the wall, and we never kick the compressor out because it's still pulling the same exact amount of power. So with that said, the test officially begins. We're not going to run on wall power tonight. By the way, one thing I want to show, it is 5:20 in the afternoon. We're no longer pulling solar in, and we don't start getting solar again in the morning until about 8 o'clock. So my goodness, we're talking close to 15 hours. I'm expecting that device down there to run everything in that room. All right, so here we are next morning. It's about 6 a.m., 2 hours before the sunlight's going to come up. And it looks like we're going to make it. I really don't like running the battery down this low. You can see we're at 19%. This is about where I would like the charging to kick on. But this is saying we have 5 hours left. So that means not only can I run my ice maker around the clock, because you can see it's still engaged in there and it's going to stay that way for a few days, but I can run another deep freezer, refrigerator. I've got the AC in there with the fan cycling off and on, and we ran the lights some in there yesterday as well. So no doubt this test shows that I could run just the ice maker 100% off solar around the clock from here on out, even with a cloudy day or two mixed in. All right, the sun just came up over the trees, pulling 600 watts in, still only using 115 watts. So we made it all through the night running that entire room. Okay, so the next question, did we make any ice last night? I'm not expecting much. Haha, we did. Come on, focus. All right, we definitely made ice last night. Not a whole lot, but keep in mind it had to completely cool down too. This thing has been sitting idle for quite a while. We'll talk a little more about what I'm going to start doing for storage here. Alright, so just another quick update. It is only 10:30 in the morning. We've only had sun for 2.5 hours. And look, we're already up to 58%, getting almost 1100 watts in from that solar array. So I don't think we're going to have a problem getting back to full charge and doing this again tonight. Okay, so here we are a few days later, and I'm going to give you the results of the solar test and show you where we're at on ice and how I'm going to store this. So for the first 3 days, 24 hours around the clock, I was able to run this entire room right here. Now keep in mind, that's my ice maker, that's a window unit, that's 160 watts worth of lights, that's another deep freezer, a refrigerator. I think that may have been all that we powered up over here, other than some parasitic draw for flashlight chargers, things such as that. The first night I got down to 12% on that battery. That's about as low as I'd ever want to run it, but this stayed fully engaged. To my surprise, the ice maker actually went to 0 watts after the next day, before even 24 hours. It just got cold enough in there, and it cycles off and on as it brings warm water in, makes ice, and you put an actual temperature change or thermal load on this. Now the next night I charged up on solar that day. Next night, no problems, a little better battery that next morning. I don't remember what it was because this was cycling off and on. The third night made it again, no problems. However, what you may not can hear is it's pouring rain out there. This is the second day in a row of rain. I actually had to plug my Delta Pro in yesterday to the wall because no solar yesterday. There's gonna be no solar today. So that's the drawback to solar, right? No sun, no charging, but I got 3 free days of running this entire room. Now what I'm gonna do moving forward, pull another power wire over here like I was talking about, and if I were to run just this, I'll put another outlet over here and run a few different things, but if I mainly dedicate that line just to my ice maker, I could probably run 2+ days just on the battery power alone in that unit, and chances are I'll be able to run it out around the clock indefinitely unless we just get multiple cloudy days. So while yes, I was able to make ice for free off of solar, minus the cost of equipment, I totally understand that. We already had that equipment for our backup use anyways. I'm not able to do it until I get that extra line run over here, but the potential's there, the equipment's already here, we're already saving it for backup emergency sources. It might as well be running, making me free ice around the clock. All it's gonna do is require further investment of 1 new piece of Romex cable to run over here. So you asked for it, hey, we're running on solar. Maybe not today, it's raining, that's the way it is, but we're gonna set this up in the future. And as we build out more solar, we're eventually gonna take the shop or the house off grid, and I'll probably continue to run this off grid just for the novelty and fun of it, for the simple fact of I'm making free ice at that point. All right, so let's take a peek inside. Actually, looks like we're dumping ice right now. And you can see I decided to put these 3-gallon trash cans in here. I bought them really cheap off of Amazon. If I flip these this way, I can actually stick 4 in there. 2 here, 2 there, but it's a really, really tight fit. I decided to go for 3 across. So I decided to keep 1 over here to where I can always have a full one to easily pull right up and out from my cooler. And check this out, we're dumping ice right now. I hate to let all this warm air in here, but that's okay. Now y'all can see exactly how this works. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, I'm running fans in here as well. We discovered through a bunch of testing in this series a while back, adding some circulating air and getting the cold air circulated back up off the bottom makes a heck of an improvement in ice production. And contrary to popular belief, these actually work on temperature. There goes the ice. But they are on a timed dump cycle, so the quicker you can get the temperature back down once this fills with hot water, the more ice that you make. And there we are. Only a few pieces glancing off. I can readjust these to catch that. Let's see how much one of these weigh, and let me show you how I'm going to store stuff for the future. So now when one fills up like this, I'll just put it over here, have it ready to go for a cooler. No more scooping, no nothing. Let's take this out and weigh it and replace that with this one. All right, so first of all, I'm going to zero out my scale and take away the weight of an empty container. So let's zero that out. And let's see how much ice one of these holds. Feels like quite a bit. I was going to say 12 to 15 pounds. And to my surprise, a little over 15 pounds, right at 15.5 pounds almost. So what that means is anytime I have 4 of these filled up in there, well, I have 60 pounds of ice. But I've told y'all, anytime I do saltwater fishing trips, I take up to 80 pounds of ice with me. So I always want a little bit of a buffer in here. I want at least 80 pounds of ice. So how we're gonna do that is, I showed these in some of our older videos. I have these ice bags right here that I bought off of Amazon. So these are 10 pounders. I'm gonna fill up 4 of these and put in the bottom, and then I'll put my, well, trash cans, ice catching buckets right on top of the 40 pounds of ice that I'm gonna store in the bottom. So anytime this is filled up with 4 of these and 4 bags of ice down there, I have 100 pounds on hand, which means I can make any fishing trip that I want and still have a little bit of ice left over, a buffer, in case the following day I need to fill up a cooler. And I just always want to keep a little bit of thermal mass in there. I probably need to order some 20-pound bags for doing this, dumping over in it, and then I'll just put 2 in the bottom. I think that'll work out a lot better, but I have 10 pounders, so. I didn't spill any. Awesome. So there's 1 bag of ice that'll go in the very bottom. I now have 3 bags of ice down on the very bottom that I can grab at any point in time, and 4 bins across the top to collect 60 more pounds. And really I can reposition the bags down there to get a 4th one, which is probably what I'll do. Then I always have 100 pounds of ice at a time, which is about what I think I want to store. Come out here and flip these bars up. I could stop ice production at any time. So why am I doing that? One, I've already stated, I think 100 pounds is the perfect amount for me to store, although this can store about up to 200 pounds if I just let it fill all the way up. The other reason is now I no longer have to get in there and scoop because I'm collecting it straight in the bucket. It's already ready to go for me. The whole point of building this was convenience. Now I don't have to drive to any stores that are far off, paying $4 a bag for ice. I'm making it for practically free now. It's in my home ready to go. Now these little trash cans make it so convenient for me. I can literally come out here and grab one out, bring the cooler right in here, dump it in. There's 15 pounds if it's full. Grab another one, top a little off, or I can go out there and just dump straight into my boat, load it up, and grab a few bags. So it's all about convenience. No scooping, no bending over anymore, no digging in the bottom of this thing. And this should help with defrosting and any freeze up that I've had. A lot of people ask, does this freeze up? Typically, all throughout the summer when I'm in here digging a lot with a scoop, whenever I was just letting ice pile up, never had any freeze up issues. But you're gonna have, frost built up on the side. This is a manual defrost freezer. Twice a year, I take it outside, thaw it out, clean it. That's something you should do with any ice maker. You don't want a defrost freezer, one that's automatic, or you're gonna wind up melting ice in there. That's technically what happens. That's the last thing you want for an actual ice machine where you're trying to keep ice frozen. So I'm thinking by keeping my ice bagged and keeping it in the buckets, while I'll build up some frost on the side, I won't have any issues with freeze up of ice, any clumps, anything. The only time I've been noticing that is over the winter when I use a little less ice and I'm not constantly in here with a scoop busting it up. And occasionally you'll get some frozen chunks in the corner and things such as that. I'm hoping this is gonna help eliminate it, but I'm still gonna have to break this down twice a year, defrost it. It's the way it goes. We do that with our big food freezer as well. Once a year, once every 2 years, we'll break it down and defrost it. So the new storage, well, it's just all about convenience. There's nothing more convenient than open this up, grabbing your already filled trash can full of 15 pounds of ice, dump it in the cooler, go on about your business. All right, so to all my ice loving friends, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna pull that extra wire off camera here over the next several weeks, run another outlet into this room. I think I want one somewhere right here to where I can run my big heavy duty grinder, and I'll have it dedicated just for solar for this right here as well. So as we experiment more with solar this year and try to either get the shop or house off grid, I'm kind of starting to lean more toward taking the shop at least 120 volts completely off grid. That way all of our food and everything is covered. We'll bring you along for the journey. We have a lot of solar experimenting going on this year. I don't know where we're going to wind up. We're going to test anything we can get our hands on. We're going to learn. We're going to share. I love doing that stuff. And occasionally I'll give y'all updates on the ice maker as well. All right, thanks for watching. Y'all requested this and it just happened to fit at the perfect time of us venturing into solar. So here it is. Catch you on the next video.